Few films arrived with the kind of bold, unpredictable energy that Flash Gordon did. It wasn't just another science fiction movie, it felt like a collision of styles. Bright comic book colors, exaggerated performances, and a rock soundtrack combined into something that stood completely apart from anything else of its time. But behind that spectacle was a production filled with strange twists, creative risks, and stories that shaped the film in unexpected ways. The journey begins with a rejection that quietly changed cinema history. In the 1970s, a young filmmaker wanted to bring Flash Gordon back to life on the big screen. When he failed to secure the rights, he didn't abandon the idea, he rebuilt it. That decision led to the creation of Star Wars, which premiered years before Flash Gordon and redefined the entire genre. By the time Flash Gordon finally arrived in 1980, audiences were already living in a world influenced by the very thing it had inspired. The production itself was anything but smooth. The actor cast as Flash had the perfect look, strong, confident, and heroic, but behind the scenes, tensions with the producer led to a fractured working relationship. When filming ended, he left before post-production was complete, forcing the filmmakers to reconstruct parts of his performance using dubbing. The result created a slightly unusual blend of voice and physical performance, but it ended up fitting the film's surreal tone. Even his casting was unconventional. Rather than being discovered through traditional auditions, he was reportedly spotted on television, where his natural presence convinced the producer he was the right choice. Other casting decisions were more turbulent. The role of Dale Arden was abruptly recast, leading to legal action and controversy. The replacement ultimately made the role her own, but the sudden change revealed how unstable parts of the production could be. The music, now one of the film's most iconic elements, almost went in a completely different direction. Early ideas leaned toward a more atmospheric, experimental sound. But everything changed when a major rock band took over the soundtrack. Instead of simply scoring the film, they integrated dialogue and sound effects directly into the music, creating something that felt like an extension of the movie itself. That bold approach gave Flash Gordon a sound that remains instantly recognizable. The physical production pushed boundaries as well. Action scenes were filmed on elevated, hazardous sets with limited safety measures by modern standards. Actors performed many of their own stunts, adding a sense of real tension to the final result. The lead actor also trained intensely, bringing an athletic realism to a world otherwise filled with theatrical exaggeration. Some of the film's most memorable moments came from improvisation. One action sequence embraced the hero's background as a football player, turning combat into something uniquely personal and unexpected. It added character in a way the script alone hadn't fully explored. Technically, the film relied on creative solutions to achieve its ambitious visuals. Alien skies were created by filming color dyes swirling in water, then slowing the footage to give it a vast, otherworldly feel. Miniature models stood in for massive structures and spacecraft, carefully composited to appear full-scale. Blue screen techniques were used extensively, requiring intense lighting and precise planning to work convincingly. Not everything was perfect. In some scenes, wires used for flying sequences were visible to audiences. While later restorations improved these moments, they remain part of the film's original charm, a reminder of the limits filmmakers were working within. The film's tone was also carefully balanced. On the surface, it was a straightforward adventure filled with spectacle and excitement. Beneath that, it carried a layer of self-awareness, gently embracing its own absurdity. This dual approach allowed it to appeal to both younger viewers and adults who recognized the playful satire. Interestingly, the version audiences saw wasn't the only one imagined. Early in development, a much darker interpretation of the story was considered, one that leaned into myth, symbolism, and psychological themes. That version was ultimately abandoned in favor of the colorful, theatrical style that defined the final film. Ambitions for the project extended beyond a single movie. Plans for sequels were already in motion, with contracts and storylines prepared for a continuing series. The ending itself was designed to act as both a conclusion and a setup for what would come next. But those sequels never happened. Instead of becoming a major franchise, Flash Gordon found a different kind of success. Over time, it developed a loyal following and became a cult classic, celebrated not for fitting expectations, but for completely ignoring them. In the end, Flash Gordon is more than just a film. It's the result of competing visions, creative risks, and unexpected circumstances all colliding at once. A production filled with chaos that somehow produced something memorable, distinctive, and enduring. And decades later, its strange, vibrant identity still stands untouched, proof that sometimes, the most unconventional journeys leave the strongest legacy.